Hello and welcome back to Financial Deep Dive with CWT. My name is Caleb Tanner and I'm the owner of FinanceByCWT.com, a website all about the financial markets, crypto, and basically just investing as a whole. And in today's podcast episode, I want to talk about an article that I actually wrote earlier today called Why Bitcoin is Valuable. And the reason I wrote this article is that I've always, especially like on Twitter, been a huge proponent for Bitcoin. And a lot of people, on my Twitter, people that know me personally, they always ask me, why Bitcoin? Like, why do you invest in Bitcoin itself? And through these questions, I've seen a lot of people that just don't really get it. And what I mean by that is, I've had a lot of people tell me that, Bitcoin is nothing, like it does nothing. And you're basically just investing in something, hoping that it'll go up and that more people invest into it, like a Ponzi scheme would. And that's what Bitcoin is. And first off, well, that's not the definition of a Ponzi scheme, so like that criticism doesn't fit. Like as calling it a Ponzi scheme, it's still like if people believe that Bitcoin is just nothing that people invest in solely for the reason they think other people invest into it goes up, it's not surprising why so many people are against it. But I think Bitcoin has real value in what it is and what it does. And that's really why, I wrote the article and I'm making this, podcast episode further talking about it. And what I want to do is so I put in the article itself, I put each different point that I have, as a different like bullet point. And I want to mention the bullet point and then go further into what exactly, I meant. And I encourage all of you to read the actual article itself. It's in the script, like the actual like article is in the description, or you can just go to FinanceByCWT.com, hit crypto blog, and read it for yourself. I've had a finance blog on that website for a while, and this is actually the first post that I made on the crypto blog. But as that segment grows, and I believe that it will, I want to get more and more ahead of it and go ahead and start talking about it. But anyways, the first point that I made on why Bitcoin is valuable is that it accomplishes something amazing. And what I mean by that is, well, first I address that like the biggest thing that I've heard people say that are against Bitcoin is that it doesn't actually do anything. Like with gold, like let's say that, or silver, if people stopped investing into it, thinking it'll go up, you could at least sell it and have someone do something with like the metal inside of it. Or like, there's a lot of technology that use like gold and stuff like that. You could sell it to them. And, while that's true that you can do it for them, and I'm definitely not like opposed to buying gold and silver. In fact, I'm, mostly for it. I don't think that's a fair thing to say about Bitcoin. And the reason I say that is because it actually accomplishes something awesome. Let's say, I live in, United States. Let's say someone lives in, like any other country, right? Like let's say I'm trying to transfer money to someone in a foreign country. How am I supposed to do that? Well, one, I could call the bank and be like, hey, will you transfer this money, over to them? And well, one, I have to pay a fee since you're transferring money internationally. And on top of that, there's limitations when I can actually do that. Like, if it's a holiday, can't do it, bank's closed. If it's nighttime, can't do it, bank's closed. You have to find the bank actually open and pay, extraordinary fees. There's also like services like PayPal, for instance. And while they can also transfer money from me to someone in a foreign country, I'm also going to have those huge fees attached to it. And it's going to add up over time. But what Bitcoin allows me to do is that I can, very easily just ask the person in the foreign country, be like, what's your Bitcoin wallet? And then transfer money out of my wallet to theirs. And, there was no third party that I had to reach out to and hope was open and available during that time. I was just able to do it. And I think that's a huge, advantage that something like Bitcoin has. Because without a third party attached to it, you can just transfer your wealth. That's something that Bitcoin accomplishes that in my opinion, makes it very valuable. Because I do think having the freedom to do that is very important. The second point I made is that it works as a currency in a ways that others just can. Like let's say, the biggest people that are against Bitcoin are usually, the gold, silver supporters. And even though I'd support them as well, those are the people that are usually mostly against Bitcoin. But imagine if we use gold as a currency, right? Like imagine walking into like Walmart handing like a gold coin. First off, the way gold actually works, a coin like this big is still like 300 bucks. But let's say that regardless, let's say you go to the store, you had someone gold and you're like, I want to buy this, get my change, all that stuff. One, it's really hard to break gold down that small, like for change and stuff like that. But even if you could, Walmart have to actually authenticate that gold. And that's not like an easy process, and it would take forever to actually do it. Like when you had see how many customers that you come in, like something like that could just never work as a currency. Also, our dollars itself don't work as a currency the same way like Bitcoin does. Like imagine, or most of you probably have, been to like a foreign country. What do? You get off at the airport, you exchange like your dollars, you get their currency, and that's like you're spending money while you're there. Like if you go to the store, in fact, I did this when I went to Dominican Republic. I exchanged my dollars, went to the store, and like you see it's like, 200 of their money for like a jug of milk. And you just have to wonder, like, how much is that in my money? Like, how much of my money am I actually spending on this jug of milk? And you have to like basically verify everything in your head, like find out how much you're actually spending. And it's a complicated process, and it's not exactly easy. But Bitcoin makes that easy because as more and more places start adopting Bitcoin as like legal tender, it'll get to the point where you could literally, go to a foreign country, instead of exchanging your dollars for their dollars and have to work on the actual like conversion rate between the two, you can just go to the store and use your Bitcoin. As more and more places start adopting it, it just becomes so much easier to make transactions in like those kind of like situations. Also, our dollar bills devalue over time. Like in fact, it's worked into that. Like if everything goes perfectly, our dollars still devalue by like 2% a year if everything goes exactly how they want. Like that's the goal, for us to only be devalued 2% a year. And that gives people an incentive not to have dollars. They'd rather like invest into like a stock or gold or something like that, because just having dollars is worthless. Because like if I came up to you and was like, hey, invest in my business, I'm just going to devalue your investment by 2% a year, you're not going to do it. It would make no sense to do that. But that's really what holding dollars is. And since a lot of people, don't want to do that, it doesn't really, that's a problem that our currency currently has. But Bitcoin has historically appreciated in value. Like it's historically worth more like every single year. And, for the last, basically decades since it's been created. And because of the appreciation it possesses, it gives people like a reason to hold it. It gives people a reason to actually store it. And since money, for those who don't know, money is supposed to work as a store of value. And since our dollars don't work as well as store of value as something like Bitcoin, then Bitcoin, by that characteristic, is a better money. And I think that is also something that makes Bitcoin valuable because of the way that it works. And my last point in this article is that Bitcoin is scarce. Scarcity alone doesn't create value. Just because something is limited doesn't mean it's valuable. But because of the two premises that I pointed out above, because of those 2 points, if you accept those, then I don't see how you can not see the scarcity as a value creation tool. Because there are only 21 million Bitcoins that will ever exist. There will never be more, there will never be less, there's 21 million. There will be less in the sense that, people will lose access to wallets and stuff like that. But actual Bitcoins in existence, there will always be 21 million. And, that is scarcity in of itself. And because of the reasons I pointed out above, I think demand for Bitcoin will increase. Like people traveling to foreign countries, when people are trying to send money to people in foreign countries, I think the desire for Bitcoin, as the dollar continues to depreciate, I think the desire for Bitcoin will grow. And as the desire for Bitcoin will grow, the scarcity has to make Bitcoin more valuable because there is more demand and limited supply. And as any economics teacher would tell you, when there's more demand, less supply, prices go up, which is exactly what we've historically seen with Bitcoin. Because it does accomplish certain needs out there, and as those needs grow, and as more and more people learn about a solution to fix those problems, Bitcoin will have to grow. Like if you accept the above two premises, I feel like you have to accept the third. All this together is why I think is the reason Bitcoin's valuable and the reason I believe it will remain valuable. It's an investment that I have that I think will be one of the best ones that I have ever made, like relative to like returns. And I think about what it does and what I believe that it will do, and because of these, like what I've just said in this like video so far, I think that Bitcoin has to become more valuable. So, the biggest like problems people come up to me they have with Bitcoin is that it doesn't do anything. And I feel like in this video I've shown that it does. Another is that it's just, people are just like throwing money into it to give like, more and more like returns on it. And, while it's true that I think most people want returns on it, a lot of people that buy Bitcoin are doing it because it actually like, accomplishes something. And one thing that I failed to mention that I meant to mention is that another like limitation of what we have right now, and another thing that Bitcoin does that I think is very valuable, and another reason I think it's valuable, if you go to the store and let's say you buy something, if you write a check, there's a clearing process. There's a while before the bank verifies everything and actually transfers the money from their account to your account. Like it takes time. If someone comes in there and they pay with a credit card, it also takes time, and like you're actually punished for it as a business. Like someone buys something from your store, like you have to pay like 3% for that. And Bitcoin solves this as well because with the Lightning Network, you can go to the store, buy something, and have the money show up like essentially instantly. And I think that is something that's even more valuable. Like I think businesses should encourage people to use Bitcoin because it's better for them. And if it's better for them and they're pushing it, I think that's another reason that Bitcoin will, simply just increase in value because they're increasing it with their customer base and more of them are demanding it. The scarcity would just create more value. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. Either subscribe on YouTube or whatever platform you're currently listening on. And that's it. Thank you for listening.